Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Sarah and I'm gonna try something a little bit different for this video. So you all know, if you've watched my channel for a while, that I have a jar that's full of all different colors of slips of paper that have different titles on it, and they're books that I've owned for X amount of time. The red ones are my oldest ones, the orange ones are my second oldest, and then we have the purple, the ones from last year, and the green, the ones that I've hauled this year. So I have quite a few red ones. I actually have 60 red ones in here. So these are books that I've had for 3+ years that I haven't read yet. And a lot of these I've had for even longer than that I haven't read yet. So I'm going to challenge myself during this video. I don't know how long this is going to take to get through, but I want to see which comes first. 3 5-star reads or 10 books. So we're going to pick a book out of my red ones. I have no clue what's going to be in here. And we're going to read it and we're going to see which comes first, whether I get 3 5-star reads or if I read 10 books. Either way is going to be getting the number of red slips down from my TBR, books that I've had for a long time that I still have not picked up yet. And hopefully find some books that have been just sitting on my shelves for years that are 5 stars. So let's see what we get first. I'm gonna try and mix them up. I don't know what all is in here, so they're all mixed up anyways, but I'm gonna try and find some audiobooks too, because I listened to The Hobbit on audio this last week and I loved it. So the first one is Project Hail Mary. Holy shit. Okay. Of course it's this one. I've needed to read this one for so long. Everybody loves this book, which is why I bought it. My husband read it already and he thought it was just okay. He said it felt really YA, but it's not his favorite. And I keep putting it off. So I guess we're gonna start with Project Hail Mary and we'll see how I like it. So I will come back and update you when I have an update, and maybe not outside because it's a little cool out, but I wanted to film somewhere different. So I will start in on Project Hail Mary and I will talk to you guys here in a little bit. So it's a few hours later and I've been reading Project Hail Mary and I am up to chapter 6, which is 100 pages into this, and I do not like it. I understand that he is a junior high middle school teacher, so it's kind of ingrained in him not to cuss out loud or use foul language. However, when you are in his mind, I guarantee that he is not thinking that something hurt like a mother fluffer. I guarantee it. Especially not for a 30-year-old guy. Okay. I don't like this, and it mixes this kind of thing in through a lot. He says, I want this gosh darn thing, or all these different little things that he adds in a lot throughout this book, that it's avoiding cursing. Now, with the middle grade books that I have read that are actually middle grade and they are intended for kids of that age, there isn't any cussing, but it doesn't act like there's going to be cussing and then using other words instead, or at least very, very rarely. There might be 1 or 2 thrown in. This is like every other page that he's doing this, and it's driving me insane. In this book so far, we are following Ryland Grace, and he is a scientist turned middle school teacher, and he was involved in looking into the discovery of what they call astrophage. Now, this is a cell-like molecule thing that it uses the energy from light, and it collects that energy from the sun, goes to Venus, reproduces, and then goes back to the sun. And it basically does this all the time, taking energy from stars and from the stars. And they are looking into why that is and trying to stop it so that way it doesn't take energy from the sun and essentially cause like a mass ice age in the States, or on Earth. and kill everybody. So that's what we're looking at. So he wakes up and he's on this ship, or he's in this like hospital type bed. He doesn't know where he is. He doesn't know who he is. He has no memories of how he got there or anything like that. And we're getting flashbacks of his memory, kind of piecing things together as he remembers them. And I don't have a problem with that. I really don't. I think it's actually an interesting concept. However, at this point with the writing of this book, the way that he chose to do it with the cursing, if he's a middle school teacher, fine, great. But don't add in those kinds of things every other page. It's not necessary, and you could have just left that bit out. Like, really, it's not necessary. And so that's driving me crazy. And then, yeah, it just at this point, like, I don't care. Like, I don't want to continue reading this for another 350 pages. I really don't. I don't expect that it's really gonna pick up the pace too much. So far it's been pretty, like, I feel like it's been like kind of mediocre paced. It's moving, but it feels like not really a whole lot has happened at the same time for being 100 pages in. And I just don't care. I'm not enjoying my time reading this. I don't want to read this for 460 pages. So that being said, now that I've talked about it for almost 5 minutes, I am DNFing Project Hail Mary. I will be unhauling this. My husband wasn't a big fan of it either. He thought it was really annoying as well. I know a lot of people love this book, and I really, really hoped that I would think differently than my husband about it and really love it. That's just not happening. So I am going to DNF this one, and we are going to pick another slip from the jar. So now we are book 1 out of 10 with 0 5 stars. So let's pick our next one. All right, what's this one? It's upside down. What does that say? Sith? Is that Sith? Ooh, yes, that is Sith. Okay, so I have already read Sith. This is actually going to be a reread for me. I have this in here because I read Sith by Neal Shusterman, and I haven't finished the series. There are 4 books. Well, technically it's a trilogy plus like a story collection that's in the same world or something. So I read the first one and I really enjoyed it, but I never continued the series. So we are going to reread Sith and hopefully continue on with that series. I'm really, really excited for this. I love Neal Shusterman's writing, and I know a lot of people talk about having Arc of the Sith. This is not my first book from Neal Shusterman. I read his Unwind series, which was absolutely fantastic, and I want to reread that very soon. But I read that series years ago and I loved it. And then when I read Sith, I really enjoyed that one as well. I think I gave it 4 or 5 stars. I just never finished the series. So I wanted to reread Sith so that way I can continue, because it's been a few years now. So that's the one that we're going to start next. I'm going to reread that one. So this one is basically that they have solved the issues of people getting sick and dying, but because of that, they have to have these Siths that go through and take souls, that they glean people's souls from their bodies, and that's how people die now. And so there are 2 characters. There's a boy and a girl who unwillingly, but are brought into it anyways, are brought in as being apprentices to a Sith. One of them is going to become a Sith, and the other one is, I think, just gonna die. I think. It's been a while since I read this. But they don't want to be there. They don't want to be doing this. And then the whole thing with this is that they're learning, and the Sith that's teaching them is trying to tell them, I chose you partly because you don't want to do this. And so, yeah, I'm really excited to get back into the series, and maybe I'll even end up actually continuing on, and we'll just count this because I've had all these books for years. So maybe I'll just go on and continue if I want to and count that towards this video, because like I said, they should all be in this bowl. So I'm gonna go grab that book. We're gonna start in on that, possibly our first 5 star, maybe we'll see how it goes. But yeah, so I'm gonna go grab that book and I'm gonna start reading, and I will give you an update later on. Okay, so I have just barely started Sith. I'm only on chapter 2, but I do want to try and find an audiobook. So I have a pretty limited amount of options on Libby. So I'm going to go through these until we find an audiobook that I can actually borrow. If it has a hold, we'll keep looking, but I'll still put it on hold. But I do want to find an audiobook. So Gideon's Sword. Is that number? Oh no, that is number 1. Okay. I kind of doubt this one is going to have an audiobook. This is one of the Douglas Preston and Lincoln Child books. I love these books, or their writing. Oh my gosh, there is 1 copy available. Look at that. 1 copy available. How lucky is that? Okay. So that's what we're going to do. We are going to do Gideon's Sword by Douglas Preston and Lincoln Child as an audiobook. We're going to do this one at the same time we're reading Scythe, which is kind of perfect. These books are kind of a little bit of archaeology, a little bit of mythology sometimes, a little bit of sci-fi, a little bit of crime. I read almost the entire Pendergast series. I've read almost the entire Nora Kelly series up to date by them, and I love their writing. So we have a ton of their books. These are a couple, or really a series of theirs that is one that I haven't read yet. I read, I think, 2 books in this series, because you can read these books in order or out of order. It doesn't really matter. This one, it says, New York Times bestselling author Douglas Preston and Lincoln Child pair up to present the unforgettable character Gideon Crew, trickster, prodigy, master, and thief. At 12, Gideon Crew witnessed his father, a world-class mathematician, accused of treason and gunned down. At 24, summoned to his dying mother's bedside, Gideon learned the truth. His father was framed and deliberately slaughtered. With her last breath, she begged her son to avenge him. Now, with a new purpose in his life, Gideon crafts a one-time mission of vengeance aimed at the perpetrator of his father's destruction. His plan is meticulous, spectacular, and successful. But from the shadows, someone is watching, a very powerful someone who is impressed by Gideon's special skills. Someone who has need of just such a renegade. For Gideon, this operation may be only the beginning. So that doesn't really say a whole lot about it, but this audiobook is 10 hours long. I was looking for something that I can keep working on my diamond painting with. It's about halfway done, give or take, and I want to keep doing that. So I'm going to start this one and work on my diamond painting, and then I might read some more of Scythe here and there. But like I said, I've already started that one. I'm only on like chapter 2, but I'm really excited to continue with that one as well. So this is perfect. And so yeah, I will talk to you guys when I have an update on one or the other. Good morning, everybody. So it is the next day and we are back already because I continued to listen to the audiobook of Gideon's Sword this morning. I listened to the majority of this last night. So I got up to, I think it was like, oh goodness, how far did I get? I don't even remember. I got up, I guess I have it right here. So I got up to chapter 51 last night listening to the audiobook. That is 238 pages into this book. And this book is following Gideon Crew. So when Gideon was a little kid, he witnessed something that no kid ever should. He had somebody bring his mom to a store company somewhere and told her, we need your help because there's something going on with your husband. Turns out her husband was holding a guy hostage and saying that they needed to do an investigation into something or other. And what it came down to was that mom talked to dad, dad let the guy go, and then the cops shot his dad and killed his dad. So he finds out that on his mom's deathbed later on when he's grown, that all of this was actually the fact that his dad was framed. His dad was the fall guy for a bigger conspiracy. And that's how this book starts out. So she says, go and get revenge for your dad. Make sure that he knows that we're the ones who did it. And he's like, okay. So that's how this book starts out. And then we go into this whole mystery that Gideon gets hired by this other guy that what was his name? Eli Glynn, that hires him to find out about this Chinese man that came into the States and is supposedly going to be bringing something that could change the world into the States. And he's hired to look into it and find out what's going on. Well, this Chinese man, Wu, he is in a hit and run when he's in a cab. The cab gets hit by a car and totaled, and Wu is in the back seat, obviously, and it's a really, really bad accident. And so Gideon starts looking into who is going after Wu and why. And that's what this book is. So I have read a ton of Preston and Child books. Obviously, I told you guys that I have read almost the entire Pendergast series, which is 20 plus books. I have read 4 out of 5 of the Nora Kelly books that they have as like a spin-off series from Pendergast. And I love their books. I really do. I continue to buy their books because I enjoy them. They're really, really quick thriller, mystery, sci-fi, like a bunch of different things kind of all mixed and matched together. And I really like their books. However, this one was kind of a bummer. Like, Pendergast books, see, Pendergast is an FBI agent. So all of the books basically start out with somebody dying and they're looking into the murder. Who killed them and why. And of course you come to love the characters as you read through all the books. This one, I felt really, really detached from the characters. You know, and Gideon Crew, he was okay, but there was a lot of stuff that he just took on blind faith. Like, he's supposed to have, like, this PhD and be super smart and stuff like this. But I feel like a lot of things that he went through in this book was, like, blind luck, that he just lucked out and everything went his way. I feel like a lot of people too quickly believed the stories that he was telling, the lies that he was telling throughout this book. And I just was really underwhelmed with it. I felt like it took way too long to get started, and it wasn't the most fast-paced book. Like, everything speeds up at the end in typical Preston and Child fashion, but it took too long to get there, and I didn't really feel connected to the mystery of it. Like, at all. And I don't know if that was an issue with the audiobook or because of me. Like, it's a me thing, I guess, because I'm not reading it physically, but at the same time, I've tried to start this book before and I didn't get super into it. And I think it was just, for me, this book just didn't work as well. So I ended up landing on a 3.5 stars for this one. It's still good. I still like their writing. I still like their storytelling. I think their books are a good time. There were things that did kind of surprise me at times. There were things that was super, super predictable with this book. But this book is 15 years old. So maybe 15 years ago it wasn't as predictable as some of the things that come out now. But yeah, so I was really underwhelmed with this one. But I am glad that I finally read it and can now get it off of my shelves, because for as mediocre as this one was, I'm not going to keep this one. I have plenty of Preston and Child to read and reread to my heart's content. So I will end up unhauling this one, which is unfortunate because I hoped that I would at least give it 4 stars, but it just didn't quite cut it. So now, that being said, I'm not quite done with my diamond painting, which I will show you that when it's done, because I'm almost there. But I do need to find another audiobook. So I am going to pull up my Libby app, because apparently now I listen to audiobooks, or at least I have been because of doing this diamond painting thing. I have been loving this. Like, I have gone through 2 books fully on audio, which I don't normally do. I usually go back and forth between the audio and the physical, but I have listened to 2 full books on audio while working on my diamond painting, and I'm loving this right now. So I'm going to take advantage of it while it's working for me. And yeah, so, okay, let me return this one real quick, so that way somebody else can borrow it if they want. And then let's pick another one out of the jar, and we'll see if I could get it on Libby or not. All right, so next up, which, by the way, I did look and see if I could get Scythe on audio, and they don't have it. They have Gleanings, which is the, like, short story collection after the 3rd book, but they don't have the first one. So I can't listen to that one on audio. I'm making progress with it slowly, but I haven't read a ton of it because I've just been listening. So here we go. Is that upside down? I can't tell. Okay, so that is The Phoenix Crown by Kate Quinn and Jamie Chang. Okay, perfect. So we're gonna go with historical fiction now. Let me see if it's on here. I know Briar Club was when I was looking. Make sure that it's the audiobook and that it's in English, and okay. So it looks like the next one we are going to be starting is The Phoenix Crown. Okay, so the next one we're gonna listen to on audio is The Phoenix Crown. This is Kate Quinn and Jamie Chang. I love Kate Quinn's writing. I've said this before on this channel, and her favorite book of mine was The Huntress. I know everybody loves like the Alice Network, a lot of people like the Rose Code, but The Huntress is my all-time favorite. So I've never read anything where she's written with somebody else. I don't think she does it very often, but I am very curious about this one. It says San Francisco, 1906. In a city bustling with newly minted millionaires and scheming upstarts, two very different women hope to change their fortunes. Gemma, a golden-haired, silver-voiced soprano whose career desperately needs rekindling, and Suling, a petite and resolute Chinatown embroideress who is determined to escape an arranged marriage. Their paths cross when they are drawn into the orbit of Henry Thornton, a charming railroad magnate whose extraordinary collection of Chinese antiques includes the fabled Phoenix Crown, a legendary relic of Beijing's fallen summer palace. His patronage offers Gemma and Suling the chance of a lifetime, but their lives are thrown into turmoil when a devastating earthquake rips San Francisco apart and Thornton disappears, leaving behind a mystery reaching further than anyone could have imagined until the Phoenix Crown reappears 5 years later at a sumptuous Paris costume ball, drawing Gemma and Suling together in one last desperate quest for justice. So it sounds interesting. I'm a little nervous. I don't read a lot of historical stuff anymore, at least not here lately. But I'll try it out and we'll see if I like it. And honestly, if I do like it, this could be one that I pass along to my dad because my dad reads all of her books too. So I will start listening to the audiobook and we'll see how this goes. We'll see if I like the audiobook or not for this one. I feel like I'm kind of picky with it, but I don't know. I guess we'll see how it goes. So I will start this. I'm going to finish up my diamond painting and hopefully I'll pick up my book physically today. I'll keep reading Sith for a while here in a little bit. But I'm trying to knock out this diamond painting. So, yeah, I will come back and give you guys an update once I've started this. Hopefully I'll actually update you this time since I didn't update you at all about Gideon's sword. I just read it. So we are 2 out of 10 right now for books done and no 5 stars. We'll see. Hey, what's up guys? So it is now Saturday evening and we have another book to talk about that I did not update you on like at all. So this morning I finished The Phoenix Crown by Kate Quinn and Janie Chang, and first of all I ended up giving this 4.5 stars. I really like this one. I thought you could very much see the collaboration between the two authors. This book is following Gemma, who is an opera singer. She moves out from Nebraska to San Francisco in order to stay with a friend and try and kind of make her way in the opera with her best friend. Now, her best friend, when she gets there, is nowhere to be found. And she thinks that she's just kind of moved on and found, you know, some new project to work on because she's an artist, and didn't really think too much about it. And that is when Gemma meets, what's his name? Henry Thornton. And Henry Thornton is a rich guy who has a lot of money and stocks and railroad ties and things like that. So he has a lot of money, and he says to Gemma that he is going to make her a star. And of course she is swept away by that, and it goes from there. We're also following Su Ling. Su Ling is a young Chinese girl. She is about 19, I believe, and she works at her family's laundry. She lost her parents, they died, and now she's trying to make her way without having to marry somebody she doesn't want to. And so she's working with her parent in her parents' laundromat and doing sewing on the side because she is a fantastic embroiderer, and that's what she wants to do, is she wants to go into fashion. And so we're following these two characters and the days leading up to the 1906, the San Francisco earthquake, and what happens when the earthquake happens. So I really enjoyed this book. However, I did not like Gemma at all. Like right from the very beginning, I did not like her as a character. I could understand the hardships that she was going through. She had problems with migraines that it talked about quite a bit in this book, where she would have a migraine come on and it would cause her not to be able to go on stage, which obviously when you're an opera singer is not a good thing because you're not reliable. And so I didn't care for her as a character, but I love the story of Su Ling and Gemma finding their way and having things happen. And I'm not going to say what happens because that's part of the story. But we also have some other characters in here that we meet, and I loved it. I thought this was fantastic. It was so interesting, and I really enjoyed it. So I thought it was kind of nice reading something that was a little bit different for historical fiction. This is 1906. It's not World War II. And so yeah, I really enjoyed this. I gave it 4.5 stars. I'm really glad that I finally read this one because I bought it right as soon as it came out, and then it's been sitting on my shelves since then. So after finishing this one, I did a little clip of me trying to find my next audiobook. I went through quite a few of them before I came up with one that I could actually start. So the one that I did end up starting, and I do have my next one on deck, the one that I did end up starting was Forest of Vanishing Stars. This is by Kristen Harmel. This one is a World War II historical fiction about a girl who gets taken as a baby by another woman, raised in the forest to live off the land, and she ends up having some part in the war with moving people across the border. And I don't know too much other than that from what I remember from the synopsis. I've started this book. I'm only on like chapter 4, I think. So I'm not very far into it. Let's see. Chapter 4 is only like 30 pages into this, so I'm not very far into it yet. But I wasn't sure about this one to start with. I'm definitely getting more invested in the story now. It reminds me of Tangled, that she's like separated from the world and doesn't really know what is what and whatnot. So it's reminding me a lot of Tangled because the woman that raises her is like, these people are terrible. You don't want to meet them. You don't want to have anything to do with them and all this stuff. So it definitely starts out feeling that way, but I'm definitely curious to see where it's going to go from here. And we'll see what happens next. I will will be continuing on with that tonight. I also got a notification from Libby as soon as I got home tonight, because we went and hung out with my parents for a little while today. I got a notification from Libby tonight that my hold for Prey by Michael Crichton is ready to go. So I was able to borrow that, and so I have this one on deck ready to go for my next pick, which is great because now we have this one that we're actively listening to right now and this one ready to go for the next book. So that's where we're at right now. I also got a really fun package in the mail today, which was a total surprise. And this is from Hachette Book Group, so from Orbit Publishing. And apparently it's already open, but let's open it and see what it is. So it wasn't actually sealed on one side, apparently. They send these huge packages, like look at this. And the book is tiny, but let's see. I can't see what that is. I don't know what this is. Ooh, A Kiss of Crimson Ash by Anuya Verghese. Seductive and magical romanticy from a wonderful new voice. Okay, great. So this is another debut. Not mad at that at all. Apparently I'm turning into like their debut reviewer because that's pretty much all I get. I don't know, the picture. Oh, is that just artwork? It has artwork down here on the bottom. Look at that. Those are cool. Okay, so I don't remember what book this is. I don't remember requesting this one, but that's okay, great. It says that Nandapur is a city of secrets and spellcasters where seduction reigns, and a power-hungry king who is never satisfied plots to unleash a weapon that has lived only in myth until now. To stop him, an ancient goddess seeks out a newly crowned queen, a heartsick prince, a common thief, and a courtesan with magic in her blood. Together they chart a course through brothels, temples, taverns, and palaces, setting a trap for the empire's most powerful men. Linked by desire, destiny, and a dangerous foe, they each must decide, what will they risk for a weapon worth dying for, and a love worth staying alive? A unique new voice in fantasy brings medieval India to life in this debut romantasy that features spice of every variety. That sounds so interesting. I'm so excited for that, and that's so pretty too. They said they come out with some of the prettiest covers on books now, and I love it. Okay, so that is awesome. I'm so excited to read this now. Not gonna drop everything just now to read this because I really want to continue on with my video, but it's definitely gonna be on deck very, very soon. I'm so intrigued. Okay, so now we can add this one to my haul for May, so woohoo. I'm able to have books now. It is May 2nd, right? May 2nd right now. So I'm able to have books again, and that's really exciting. I think the medieval India will be really, really interesting. And so yeah, awesome. So thank you so much to Hachette for sending me this, and I can't wait to talk about it with you guys and read it with you guys. So I'm gonna get back to working on my diamond paintings and listening to audiobooks, and I will talk to you guys when I have some updates. What's up, guys? So I've done a terrible job at updating you. It is now Tuesday evening, and I've got some books to talk to you guys about. So the last time I talked to you, I was reading The Forest of Vanishing Stars by Kristin Harmel. I had just barely started it. I hadn't gotten very far yet. I have since finished this. I gave this one 4 stars. I thought it was good. I felt like, you know, so this is about a girl who has been raised out in the woods with an older woman who stole her basically from the cradle. She was a toddler when she was taken from her family in Germany to the woods by this woman. And this woman raised her because she felt like she had a higher purpose. And so she's raised her to be a part of the forest and live off of the land and all of this. And then one day, this woman, because obviously at this point she's old, and so our main character, Yona, she is now on her own because the woman that raised her has passed away and she doesn't really know what to do. She's always been kept isolated from society in every way possible, and so she doesn't know how to interact with people, and it's during the start of World War II. So she comes across this little family and she says that she will help them, and the wife decides that she's going to get jealous instead and she doesn't want Yona's help. And of course, bad things happen. So it kind of spirals from there that she starts feeling the need to help people. She feels like because she knows the forest, there's Jewish people that are leaving the camps around the forest and coming in to try and find some kind of safety in the forest. And she decides to take it upon herself to try and help people survive in the forest, especially through the winter, because they are in the Poland, Russia kind of area. And so she teaches them how to survive. She teaches them what kind of mushrooms and stuff that they are able to eat, what to avoid, and things like that, how to prepare for winter. And this book was good. I gave it, like I said, I gave it 4 stars. I don't think it's going to be anything super memorable for me, but I did enjoy it while I was listening to it. There was a romance in here, or a couple of romances in here that I didn't feel were wholly necessary. Honestly, they could have been left out, but I still enjoyed this book. So like I said, I gave this 4 stars, and I'm glad that I finally read it because I've had this book for years and I've wanted to read it for a really long time. I thought she was going to help move them through the forest, like to another country to be safe, and that's not the case with this one. It's actually to survive the forest that they're in. So I thought it was interesting. I thought it was good. I definitely like the fact that Kristen Harmold, she didn't shy away from the violence in this one at all. There were some parts that did get fairly gruesome and just heartbreaking. Honestly, just heartbreaking. So I did like that a lot with this because I feel like some authors can kind of, I guess, sugarcoat it, like glaze over it, you know? So I did like that part, and overall I thought it was a good book. So I'm glad that I finally read it. Next up, I told you guys that my hold came in for Prey, and so now I've been reading Prey by Michael Crichton, and this one is, I'm currently listening to this on audio, and this one, this is about people out in the Nevada desert that have, or they believe that they have made some kind of a medical breakthrough. It's basically where they can use this pred-prey system, this algorithm, to use little like cell-like organisms to create a camera in the body to be able to see things and try and use that for in medical practices. And something has gone wrong and they're not entirely sure why. So they no longer have control over this. There are these little cell-like organisms that have escaped from their facility and are now wreaking havoc on the desert and killing animals, and they are terrorizing the people working there, and we don't fully know what's going on yet. But this one is mainly following, what was his name? Jack. No. Yeah. So this one is following Jack, and Jack is a single dad at the start of this book, or not a single dad, he's a stay-at-home dad, sorry. He's a stay-at-home dad at the beginning of this book. He has lost his job with working on computers and has decided that he's just gonna kind of take a break, let everything kind of chill out. And so he is a stay-at-home dad for his 12-year-old daughter, younger son, he's like, I want to say 8 or 9, I think, and then their 8 or 9 month old baby girl. And so he's at home taking care of the kids. His wife is working for the company that has found this medical breakthrough, and she starts coming home and acting strange. She is very kind of bipolar acting, and her temper is very short, and she's just acting strangely. And then he's trying to figure out what's going on with his wife, thinking that maybe she's having an affair, thinking that maybe she's wanting to get a divorce, and she's trying to build a case against him, saying that he is trying to turn the kids against her and things like that. His wife is a bitch. I will say that. I do not like his wife at all in this book. And this book started out really, really slow. I am nearly finished with it. I will be finishing this tonight. I'm nearly finished with it. And I feel like if I would have read this physically, I might not have finished it, but listening to it on audio, I have really, really enjoyed it. So this one is narrated by George Wilson, and the reason that I actually remember that is because I always think Dennis the Menace when I see that name. But this one is narrated by George Wilson, and he's done an excellent job at reading this book. I don't know, there's just something about it that I'm really, really enjoying. And I feel like audio is honestly the way to go for a book like this because it is slower paced. There is a lot of technical terms and things like that that are intermingled. Michael Crichton does a really good job of kind of making it so that way it's not difficult to understand, but it does sound very technical. So it's kind of intimidating because of that. But overall, I am really enjoying this one. I have no idea what I'm going to rate it yet. It kind of depends, I think, on how it's going to end out and if it ends up falling flat. Because so far, we're at a really interesting part in this book. And I'm hoping that it ends on... I hope that it ends with a bang. But I don't know if it will. But I am really enjoying this actually a lot more than I expected to. And I'm very intrigued to see what happens next. So... I'm really glad that I ended up listening to this one. Like I said, I think that if I was reading this physically, I might not have continued because it is very slow to start. But I am enjoying it. So there's that one. Like I said, I will be finishing that one tonight. I am also almost halfway through Scythe. Now, I have read this one before. I've mentioned that already. I have read this one before, but there's a lot of things that I don't remember about this book because it has been a handful of years since I read it, and that's why I'm wanting to reread it so I can continue on in this series. So this one is following Citra and Rowan, and they are two teenagers who are about 15, 16 years old, and they have a brush with a Sith. They meet him and they have an encounter with him, and his name is Scythe Faraday, and they've made an impression on him. So one day Scythe Faraday ends up sending an invitation to both of them to the opera of all things, and they meet at the opera, but Scythe Faraday is not there yet, so they think that it's some kind of a weird matchup. But what it comes down to is that Scythe Faraday wants to take them both on as apprentices and teach them how to become a Scythe and have them take over doing this, basically. So this is in a dystopian world where we have conquered death. Humans all over the world have conquered death. Nobody dies of natural causes any longer, and they can actually age you back. So if you are... in your 60s, you can go in and say, hey, I want to be 25 again, and they will do that for you. But to counter that, they also have the Scythes, and the Scythes come in and they will glean random people. It's not supposed to be biased in any way, and they will glean them, and that is it. They have a term in this book that they call splatting. That's basically that they have conquered death so much so that if you jump off a building and you die, they will bring your ass back and you will continue to live. So the gleaning is the only final way to actually die in this dystopian world. And now Scythe Faraday has taken on Citra and Rowan as apprentices and is wanting to teach them. And they're like, man, I just don't want to do this. And he's like, well, that's good. I don't want you to want to do this. I don't want you to be aching to bring death upon people. That's not right. But it is a job that needs to be done. And so right now I am on part 3. I just started part 3 in this. And Neal Shusterman has such a fantastic way of writing these dystopian novels. They are YA. They are from a teenager's point of view. And it's the same thing with his Unwind series that I also loved. They are YA, they are from a teenager's point of view, but it's such a complex well thought out dystopian world that it's just fantastic. And it doesn't feel like you're reading from a kid's perspective. You know, you're reading from this perspective of these kids and they're like, man, I kind of have a crush on her. I kind of want to kiss her. And then it's like, you know, just a small thing. And it's not like a big part of it. It's not the generic like insta love, oh my god, I've met him for 5 minutes and I'm already in love with him. That's not what this is. This is just very much that these kids are trying to fight back against some kind of an injustice in the world that they're in. And Unwind is the exact same way. It's a very interesting topic. It's a very interesting dystopian world and I'm loving it. I'm so glad that I'm rereading this, and it makes me want to not only continue this one, but it makes me really want to read Unwind again. And Unwind is on audio, so I think I'm gonna listen to the audiobook once I actually get to that point. But this one, the only one that's on audio, is like book 3.5 or something, so I can't read the series audibly. But I am really enjoying this one, reading it again and being back in this world. Like I said, there's a lot of things that I forgot about, and so it's been a lot of fun coming back to it. So I'm going to be continuing to read this one over the next couple of days when I have the opportunity. I'm going to finish Prey tonight. I do have my hold for Next by Michael Crichton. I got a notification saying that that is now in, but I don't know if I want to instantly go to another Michael Crichton, so I might try to find another slip in the jar that will allow me to choose a different audiobook, because I don't know if I want 2 Michael Crichtons in a row. So that's kind of the plan for right now. I'm going to go get a pizza in the oven for us to have dinner. I'm going to go finish Prey on audio, and I will probably talk to you guys tomorrow. So I'll see you then. Hey, what's up? Good morning, guys. So it is now Wednesday and it is snowing outside. So happy May in Colorado. It is snowing outside right now. But I wanted to come and talk to you guys because I was listening to The Bone Labyrinth last night. I listened to like the first chapter just to start it out. And I realized when I went into the other room to go to bed and I was setting my place in my book, this is it right here, I realized that there is a lot of mixed media in this book. And as soon as I remembered what it was, I do really want to read this one. This one is like an archaeological mystery, and so I do really want to read this one, and I always kind of forget what it is. But there's a lot of like pictures and things like that in this book, and I decided that I don't want to miss out on that because I feel like it's gonna be really helpful with reading this. And so I don't want to listen to this book on audio. I want to read this physically. So I've decided that I am going to actually pause on the audiobook, pause on this book for the moment and come back to it at a later date. So I'm going to pick a new one. I am at least pick a new audiobook. I'm still reading Scythe. I read some of that this morning. I read like 40 pages or so in that this morning. So I am still going to continue on with that one, but I do want to pick a new audiobook for today because I don't want to listen to this one on audio. I want to be able to read that physically. I have a bunch of cleaning here at home that I need to do, some errands in town. I need to go and get my tires rotated and get some stuff at the store and junk like that. Stuff that I really don't want to do right now because it's snowing outside. So I'm going to put that off for a little while because I don't want to drive in it and I don't want to go out in it right now. And so we're going to pick an audiobook, a new audiobook together right now. So I still have Game of Thrones on hold. But it's not here yet. So the ones I have on hold right now are The Surgeon's Daughter and Game of Thrones. And I don't know if you probably saw that I also have Martyr on here. So if you watched my 24-hour readathon video, I did pause that one and wanted to maybe come back to it later or read it a little bit slower. So I have Martyr on there, but that's not for this video. I just want to try and finish that book out. So we're going to pick another one out of the jar. We're going to see what we get. And since I'm actually doing this on camera instead of just my hands, we'll see if it'll focus because it never wants to. Of course, it's gonna be upside down. My arms don't bend that way. Is that Game of Thrones? Yep, that's Game of Thrones. All right, so that one is on hold, but it hasn't come in yet. So we're gonna set that one aside for the moment, and then we're gonna choose another one. What does that say? The Shadow of What Was Lost by James Islington. Oh crap. Okay. So I started this book and I didn't get very far. Okay. The Shadow of What Was Lost. Let's see if it's available or not. That's going to be the question. So there is the ebook. The audiobook has a 14-week wait. So I'll put it on hold, and I don't think it's going to happen, but we'll put it on hold. I can always take it off of the hold. So that one is loading right now. It says I'm 7th in line, so we got a ways to go. That one is a 25-hour audiobook. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to pick another one. A Time of Blood by John Gwynne. Ooh, I wonder. So I read the first book a while back and then I never continued in the series. However, it is not pulling up on my Libby. So that one is not going to happen audibly. So that's okay. All right, let's pick another one. This is kind of a process, like a trial and error for what Libby has in general, and then like what's actually available. What does that say? The Unspoken Name by A.K. Larkwood. So I've already looked this one up. This one is not available on audio. Okay, let's try this one. Voidbreaker by David Dalglish. Again, this is not available on audio. They don't have it, so we're going to pick again. Sorry, I know there's a lot of... Oops, I dropped it. I know there's a lot of repeats on here because I just keep throwing them back in the bowl so I don't lose these slips. Is that upside down? Yep, that's upside down. So this is The Surgeon's Daughter by Audrey Blake. Again, this one is already on hold. It's just not here yet.
Gosh.
Ah. Okay, all of you that do this so well when they're folded up, I am jealous of you because I have problems. What does that say? George R.R. Martin. Again, it's one in the series, so I gotta read the others in the series. I guarantee the next one's probably gonna be Michael Crichton again. Sunbringer by Hannah Kaner. Okay, so I want to reread Godkiller before I read Sunbringer. I've already searched for this one. They have Godkiller on audio, but not Sunbringer. So I'm just going to pick again because I don't really want to do that reread. I've been doing so many rereads in this last like month, and I don't really want another reread right now. And I'm rereading Scythe right now. So I don't want to do 2 rereads at once. The Clash of Kings by George R.R. Martin. Again, same thing. What does that say? Dragon Teeth by Michael Crichton. Okay, I have seen this one on audio when I was looking for Andromeda Strain. So, Dragon Teeth is like historical paleontology type of book. Dragon Teeth is an 8-hour audiobook, so it's definitely one that I could finish today, which is great. Michael Crichton, best-selling author of Jurassic Park, returns to the world of paleontology in this recently discovered novel, a thrilling adventure set in the Wild West during the golden age of fossil hunting. The year is 1876. Warring Indian tribes still populate America's western territories, even as lawless gold rush towns begin to mark the landscape. In much of the country, it is still legal to espouse evolution. Against this backdrop, two monomaniacal paleontologists pillage the Wild West, hunting for dinosaur fossils while surveilling, deceiving, and sabotaging each other in a rivalry that will come to be known as the Bone Wars. Into this treacherous territory plunges the arrogant and entitled William Johnson, a Yale student with more privilege than sense. Determined to survive a summer in the West to win a bet against his arch-rival, William has joined world-renowned paleontologist Othniel Charles Marsh on his latest expedition, but when the paranoid and secretive Marsh becomes convinced that William is spying for his nemesis, Edwin Drinker Cope, he abandons him in Cheyenne, Wyoming, a locus of crime and vice. William is forced to join forces with Cope and soon stumbles upon a discovery of historic proportions. With this extraordinary treasure, however, comes exceptional danger, and William's newfound resilience will be tested in his struggle to protect his cache, which pits him against some of the West's most notorious characters. Drawing on both meticulously researched history and an exuberant imagination, Dragon Teeth is based on the rivalry between real-life paleontologists Cope and Marsh. And William Johnson readers will find an inspiring hero only Michael Crichton could have imagined. Perfectly paced and brilliantly plotted, this enormously winning adventure is destined to become another Crichton classic. So this one is narrated by Scott Brick and Sherry Crichton. Ooh. Sherry Crichton. I wonder if that's for like an intro. It's usually for like an intro, because I think Dragon Teeth came out posthumously, so after Michael Crichton passed away, I think. And I with Prey, Michael Crichton read the introduction for that book, so I'm wondering if Sherry Crichton might have read an introduction for Dragon Teeth. That would be my assumption. So that being, now that we have chosen that one, I have the audiobook for that now, so we're going to listen to another Crichton book, which I figured was not going to be very surprising. I have a lot of Michael Crichton books that I do need to read, and honestly, I'm not mad about it, because Prey, I really enjoyed. I gave that one 4 stars. I finished that one last night. I didn't update you guys yet. So I finished Prey last night, and I really enjoyed it. I ended up giving this one 4 stars. I thought the ending was really, really interesting. I liked the way that it played out. It gets kind of wild and kind of crazy, and I really enjoyed it. So I ended up giving that one 4 stars, like I said, because the beginning that one is pretty slow. But I like his writing. I think he really builds things up well. It's just sometimes it feels a little bit overdone. So seeing as these ones are like 300 to 400 pages, Timeline was the exact same way, that it was just a bit too slow at the beginning, and I had a hard time getting through that one. But once I was in the story, I loved it, and I thought it was really good. And this was the same way. If I wasn't listening to it on audio where I could get through the early stuff quicker, I might not have finished it. But because I was listening to it audibly, I actually really enjoyed it. And I thought it was super interesting. I really like that Michael Crichton has a way of having a lot of technical, scientific type concepts, but he makes them easy to follow. Like, it's not like ridiculously convoluted to where you don't understand what's happening. So I really enjoyed that one, and I wasn't wanting last night to start in on immediately on another Michael Crichton book, but considering the fact that the half a dozen or so that we've pulled have been books that I either can't get on audio or I have on hold, but they're not here yet, I think we're just going to go with this because it's not a very long audiobook. We're going to get another book off. So far, I think we're on book number 6 and 7 with reading Scythe physically as well. I think we're on books 6 and 7, and I've had 4 stars. I've had 4.5 stars, but I've not had any 5 stars yet. And so it's definitely been interesting. But honestly, all of these books I have had on my shelves for such a long time. I'm just glad that I'm finally getting through a big chunk of them. Even if they're not like 5-star favorites, I'm still enjoying them, and I'm nearly done with my diamond painting. I've been trying to get some B-roll of that so that you guys can kind of see my progress going through that, at least a little bit at a time. And so I'm really excited to be making some great progress with that. It looks like it's stopped snowing out, thank goodness. So yeah, I'm gonna get started on my day and hopefully get a lot of things done today because I need to. So I'm gonna go start listening to this audiobook, and I will check back in with you guys later on. Okay, so it is now Thursday, and I have some updates for you. Yesterday, I was cleaning the house, and I started listening to Dragon Teeth by Michael Crichton, and I ended up having to actually restart it. I felt like when I was cleaning the house listening to this, I wasn't fully following what was going on, and so I ended up restarting it. But this is following an 18-year-old young man who he goes to Yale, and he makes a bet with the guy that he won't be able to spend an entire summer in the West. And so he's like, well, I'm gonna go on this expedition, this research trip with this professor, and we're gonna go out West, we're gonna look for bones, we're gonna look for fossils. And so he does some maneuvering, gets himself included in this group, and goes out West. However, the professor that he goes with doesn't trust him. He thinks he's in league with another professor that's his rival. And so he leaves him stranded, I think in like Chicago or somewhere like that in the Midwest, and leaves him stranded. And now Thomas, our main character, is stuck, and he's like, oh my god, what am I gonna do? I'm out here in the middle of nowhere, and I'm supposed to spend this whole summer out here. And he was actually really looking forward to going at that point. And so he ends up actually accidentally meeting the other professor, the rival professor, and he's like, well, my group is small, and it's gonna be hard work, and it's not gonna be very luxurious like it would be with this other guy, but you can come along with me as a photographer if you'd like. And so that's what he does. And then things happen with, they go on this dig and they find these incredible fossils that are a huge turning point for paleontology at this time in the late 1800s. And then they are bringing everything back to civilization, and they get split up and attacked by Indians. So needless to say, Thomas is on his own to try and not only retrieve the rest of these fossils, but also make his way back to the group. And I really enjoyed this book. I liked it a lot. So I restarted it last night when I was working on my diamond painting, and I ended up listening to the entire book last night. So over 200 pages, and I just sat and listened to the entire thing. And I really, really liked this book. You can definitely tell that Michael Crichton was in his like niche genre topic, was talking about paleontology and dinosaurs and things like that, and you could definitely tell like that is where his strength is. And I really enjoyed this book. I think listening to the audiobook of it definitely helped because you were able to just follow along on his journey. This book reminded me a lot actually of The Revenant by, so this book actually reminded me a lot of The Revenant by Michael Punk, and because I read that a handful of years ago, and that was a really good book too. It's kind of a slow, meandering story of revenge. This one is kind of a slower, meandering story of like him just trying to find his way back to civilization and to get back home. But how much being out in the West, it really changes him from being just like this cocky, rich kid from Pennsylvania into a man. And he really grows up. He has encounters with Wyatt Earp, and he talks about Calamity Jane, and it talks about Wild Bill Hickok, and so like all these big Western names, you know. And it was just really fun. It was a really good book. I really enjoyed it, and I ended up giving this 4.5 stars. So not quite a 5-star, but I did did really enjoy this, and I think my husband would really like this one too, because my husband read The Revenant first, and he really, really liked that book, and I think that he would like this one. So I'm really glad that I read this one. I really enjoy it. I knew that I would, having the paleontology aspect, the archaeological aspect that it does, just being out on a dig and it talking about like the heat of the Badlands and things like that. And it was just really fun. It was a really, really good story, and I really enjoyed it. So 4.5 stars, and I finished that. And then the entire time I've been working on my diamond painting. So I don't know if I showed it to you yet, but this was the first one that I did a couple of weeks ago, that I was started working on this one with listening to the audiobook. So I was listening to The Hobbit, and I didn't know if I ever showed you like the finished product of this one. So this is the one that I finished first, but the one that I've been working on that I've kind of gotten some B-roll of is this one right here. I finished it. It looks so good. I love it so much. So this one I bought at Michael's, and it has this little magnetic frame on it. So it's just wood pieces that are magnetic that go on either side, so that way it can hang up. And it looks so, so cool. And I'm really, really happy with this. So I'm going to be hanging this up in my kids' room. And so they'll see it when they get home tonight, and they're going to be so excited. And my son loves dragons. So I was going to hang it out here in the living room, but it doesn't really fit with everything else. And I have 2 more that I can put out here with my books. So I wanted to show you guys the finished product. It looks so good. It looks, I think, even better on camera. And so it looks amazing. But while I was finishing this one up, I did pull a new book last night from the jar. I didn't end up starting it until this morning. I got done with reading Dragon Teeth, and I just had a lot on my mind for different reasons. And so I just needed to kind of put the books down. I need to go to bed and start my day new. So this morning I actually ended up starting The Women by Kristen Hanna. Again, I'm listening to this one on audio. I haven't picked up Scythe at all today, but I am making really great progress in that one too. I am at least halfway through that one now, but I've been listening to The Women so far this morning, and I am up to chapter 10, or just past chapter 10, which is 104 pages into this book. And so she's right in the middle of the Vietnam War. So this book is following Frankie, and Frankie is studying to be a nurse. She's going to college, and her brother enlists to go to Vietnam. And so she decides that as a nurse, she wants to make a difference and be able to help people and whatnot. So she decides that she is going to enlist as well as a nurse. And so that's what she does. She goes into the Navy, and they turn her away because she has to have 2 years stateside experience. She goes into the Air Force. I want to say that's right. And they tell her the same thing, but then she goes to the Army, and the Army says, okay, as soon as you finish basic training, we'll send you over to Vietnam, and you can be a nurse over there. So that's what she does. She enlists in the Army, and she goes to Vietnam. But before she goes to Vietnam and begins her basic training and all of that stuff, she finds out that her brother was actually killed in combat. So Frankie has now lost her brother before she's even gone to Vietnam. And now, at the point where I'm at, she's in Vietnam, and she realizes that her nursing experience is not anywhere what is needed for Vietnam and what is needed on site. She's very, very much not unknowledgeable, but she's definitely new and very new to this. And so she's having to adjust to being in the Army and in another country and a new nurse and war and horrible wounds and all of the above. And now she's kind of starting to figure things out. And I love seeing the friendships that have already blossomed in this book. She doesn't waste any time with sending Frankie to war in this book. And I really appreciate that, because there's not a whole lot of buildup for her home life or whatever. It's just she goes straight into the military. And I really appreciate that. It definitely makes you feel connected to the character and the characters that are with her. The girls that she's become friends with, there's this guy, Jamie, that is a surgeon. that she has become friends with, and it makes you really feel for these characters right away. They're in a horrible situation and they're just trying to get from one day to the next, and it's really good so far. I'm really enjoying this. I know my sister read this and absolutely loved it, and she said that I need to read it. I know a lot of people have loved this book that have read it, and people even that don't read a whole lot of historical fiction have read this and loved it. So I know that I enjoy Kristen Hanna's books, and I feel like after The Great Alone, I was a little bit leery of picking up another one just because that one just did not work for me at all because of the contents of it. But I'm really enjoying this one. I think she's written it really, really well so far. At first I was like, I don't know, there's gonna be a romance, but at the same time, like, it hasn't worked out that way, and they're just really great friends, and I really appreciate that. Not everything has to be romantic in books, and I love the fact that that's kind of come up in this one. It's just kind of a minor thing, but these women can have these fantastic friendships with guys without it being a romantic relationship. Yes, she thinks that he's attractive, but you know, there are reasons. So I am really enjoying this book. Like I said, I'm 100 pages into it. This one is pretty long. It's like a 15-hour audiobook, I think. That is Shrek. It's like a 15-hour audiobook, so it's, what, with the author's note, we're at 468 pages, so I'm like a little less than a quarter of the way through, and so yeah, I'm really enjoying this. I am thinking that for the next, hour, 2 hours, I'm gonna have to go down to town for conferences this evening for my kids. It's their end of the year conferences, and so I'm going to be going down for that here in a few hours. But I think I'm going to start working on my next diamond paintings. I'm so happy with that. I'm going to start working on my next diamond painting that is a bookish one, and listen to some more of this audiobook. So that's kind of the plan for now. This was book number, technically 7, I think is what it is, because Scythe was number 3 and now I'm up to number 7 and number 8. So as soon as I finish Scythe, those numbers will actually be correct. But I am going through these books like crazy. I haven't found a 5-star yet. There's a lot of these books that I've been putting off for a long time. These two specifically actually are ones that I really, really wanted to read when I first got them. And then I kind of moved away from historical fiction and I've been putting them off. So I'm really glad that I read this one. I'm really looking forward to continuing on with this one. I know all of it isn't just her at war, and so I know that the setting is going to change, but so far I'm really enjoying it. And like I said, Kristen Hanna, she just has a way of writing her characters that they are just very relatable, very enjoyable to read, and so I'm liking it a lot. So that being said, I'm gonna go continue on with my day, and it's actually looks like a beautiful day outside right now. So maybe we'll go for a walk or something here in a little bit. I don't know, we'll see. But I'm gonna go and do some more reading or probably listening, I should say, and start working on my next diamond painting. So I will come back and give you guys an update later on, or once I'm done with the book. That's more likely to happen, to be totally honest with you. So I will talk to you guys later. I've officially finished 2 books since I spoke to you last. It is now Tuesday, the 12th of May, and this video is taking a little bit longer than what I planned on and a little bit shorter because it's going quicker because of audiobooks, but I was hoping to have it up on Friday and that didn't happen, so here we are. But I ended up finishing The Women the other day by Kristen Hanna, and I told you the last time, this is following Frankie, and she decides to enlist as a combat nurse in the army during the Vietnam War. And she goes over to Vietnam and she learns a lot about nursing, but she comes home and she has a lot of PTSD because of it. And it's her when she gets, it has the first half of the book when she is in Vietnam, and the second half is her after she gets back, and she's trying to find help for her PTSD and get her life back on track and going along with that, all of the people back in the States who say, no, you're not a Vietnam veteran because there were no women in Vietnam. And so I finished this one. I loved this book. It was so good. You want her to succeed. You want her to find help. She's making so many mistakes and you see that, but you want her to find her place. And I loved this book. The writing in here was fantastic. You can really tell that this was something that she wanted to get right when she wrote it. And I really appreciate that. I think she did a phenomenal job with this book, and I gave it 5 stars. So we officially have our first 5-star of this video, which is great. I've gotten through a lot of books so far, and I've had some really great reads, but none of them have been quite 5 stars. And when I got done with this one, I just didn't see how I couldn't rate it 5 stars, because I loved these characters. I hated these characters, and I felt all the things, and it was a great book, and I'm really glad that I finally read it, or at least listened to it. I love the audiobook. She did a great job with the audiobook, and yeah, this was a great read. So we finished this one. I also finished Scythe finally by Neil Chesterman. This was a reread for me, and I'm so glad that I reread it, because there was so much of this book that I didn't remember happening. And so I'm glad I didn't just continue on with the series. I gave this one 4 or 4.5 stars, and it was so good. He has such an interesting way of writing young adult dystopian books without making them feel like they're meant for teenagers. Like, they're teenage characters, but they're dealing with so many things that are so complex, and he handles it so well. I love these books. I love this author, and I'm excited to continue on in this series finally and see where it goes. And I don't want to wait to continue on in this series like I did the last time. I think it's been 3 or 4 years since I first read this book, and I'm so glad that I reread it. So I finished this one, and like I said, I'm excited to continue on with the series. So now it's time to find out what our last 2 books of this video are going to be, because this is book 7 and 8, so I have 2 books left. So they're either going to both be 5 stars, or we're going to get through 10 books one way or another. So we're going to pick 2 slips out of here, and we're going to figure out what my last books are going to be. So we are finally at the end of this video. It's been a couple of weeks, and I've been listening to a ton of audiobooks to get through this. And let's just do a quick recap and go over what all I got to in this video before we get to my most recent ones and the way that I finish things off. So the first book that I started with was Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. I know everybody absolutely loves this book with so much passion, and I made it 100 pages in or so, and I couldn't do it. The non-cussing cussing really got me in this book. So I made it 99 pages into this book, and I decided to DNF. I will be unhauling this one. It's probably going to go up on my Pango, and I'm sure that somebody will be very excited to get it, because I know everybody loves this book. It just wasn't for me. So the next one that I listened to on audio was Gideon's Sword. This is by Douglas Preston and Lincoln Child. This is the first in their Gideon Cruise series. This one was fine. Okay, so I gave this one 3.5 stars. This series, the Gideon Cruise series, has a little bit more of a political mystery, political scandal type of social scandal type thing going on, whereas the Pendergast books by these same authors are more of a murder mystery with hints of sci-fi, horror, thriller, other things. These ones aren't so much that, and I just didn't get into these as much as I did the Pendergast books. I didn't like the characters as much. I don't like Gideon Crew as much. So I just didn't get into these as much. I still love their writing. I really enjoy their books, but these ones just didn't work as well for me, so I gave it 3.5 stars. The next one that I listened to was The Phoenix Crown by Kate Quinn and Janie Chang. This one, I got this as soon as it came out. I was so excited to read it, and then I never did. I really enjoyed this book. I didn't care for, what was her name? Gemma, our opera singer. I did not care for her character, but I did like the rest of this book a lot. So I ended up giving this one 4.5 stars. I love Kate Quinn's writing. You could tell that her and Janie Chang just split this right down the middle for the perspectives in this book. And I thought it worked really well for them. And I think they did a really, really great job with it. I've already decided that I'm going to, my dad doesn't have this one yet, so I'm going to pass this one along to him because I think that he would also enjoy it with the historical fiction factor. And we love Kate Quinn's writing. So I really enjoyed this and I gave it 4.5 stars. Mind you, this is not getting any 5-star reads yet. So this is 3 books in so far. I haven't gotten any 5 stars yet. So the goal with this was to get 3 5 stars or read 10 books. And we're 3 books in. So book number 4 was The Forest of Vanishing Stars. This is by Kristen Harmel. And this one was really different. I thought it was going to be them like traveling through the forest to get to another country, but it's actually not. It's her and the other Jewish people who are just surviving in the woods. So I ended up giving this one 4 stars. I did enjoy this book, but it wasn't my favorite. And this is another one I'm going to pass along to my dad because I think he might enjoy it too. The next one that I listened to was Prey by Michael Crichton. It was really interesting. I hated his wife right from the very beginning. I thought she was awful, and I absolutely hated her. And I don't know if I would have finished this book if I wasn't listening to it on audio, but I ended up really, really liking this one, and I gave this one 4 stars. Really glad that I finally read it. The next one that I picked up right after that was actually another Michael Crichton. I wasn't sure if I wanted to read another Michael Crichton book right off the bat, but I gave it a day, and then I ended up starting Dragon Teeth by Michael Crichton. And this one, you can absolutely tell that he was in his element more so than some of his other books because this is paleontology. And obviously Michael Crichton is the writer of Jurassic Park, which I loved that book. And Dragon Teeth is set in 1876. It's all about how he goes out west, and with the time that he spends out west, how much it changes him and hardens him as a person, and the things that he learns. Like, he goes from a naive, idiotic teenage kid into an adult. And I really, really enjoyed this book. I thought it was really interesting. It kind of reminded me a lot in ways of The Revenant by Michael Punk, that they made the movie out of with Leonardo DiCaprio. It reminded me a lot of that book in ways, and I loved that book too. And I ended up giving this one 4.5 stars. I really, really enjoyed it. I really liked it, and I think that my husband would like it too, so I've told him that he ought to try it. So really, really glad that I read this one. The next one that I read was my first 5-star read of this video. If you've been listening to my ratings, you know that we haven't had a 5-star yet, but now we do. So my very first 5-star rating of this video, and here it is. It was The Women by Kristen Hanna. Again, I listened to this on audio, and I'm so glad that I did. The girl that did the audiobook for this was phenomenal. She did such a good job putting emotion into the book and the tension into the book, and I just love this. You fall in love with these characters, you fall in love with the friends that she makes in Vietnam, and you get mad with everything that she deals with after she comes back to the States. You can't help but feel for her and wish that things could have been different. And what's even worse is that you know that it's based off of real events, real perspectives, real ways that these people were treated after they've been away for war. And it's just awful what they went through, and I'm so glad that she wrote this book to shed some light on that. And I think she did it in a really, really great way. I think she did a fantastic job. You could tell that this was something that she put a lot of time into and that she really wanted to get it done right, and I think she did. So I loved this book. I gave it 5 stars. I'm so, so glad that I listened to this, and I'm glad that I finally got to it because I've been putting it off forever. And in amongst all of this, while listening to all of these audiobooks, I have also reading a book physically, and that was Scythe by Neil Shusterman. Now, I've read this book before. I read it probably 3.5 or 4 years ago. I really, really enjoyed it when I first read it, but it's been so long. I never continued on in the series, and I've always wanted to. So I figured I needed to do a reread, and I'm really glad that I did. There is a lot in this book that I had forgotten about, And I really enjoyed this one. I ended up giving this 4.5 stars the second time around. I haven't continued on this series yet, but I am really, really excited to have read this one again, be able to finally continue on in this series, because Neal Shusterman is just such a fantastic author. I already knew I loved his books. I read the Unwind series years ago. I've already read this one. Like I said, it was a reread, but I'm really glad that I reread it because there was a lot of things that I had forgotten about. So 4.5 stars. So right now we have a lot of 4s, 4.5s, a couple of 3s, and we have 1 5-star. So that is book number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then our last 2. This is where it gets interesting. Where did I put? So the next book that I attempted to read was The Surgeon's Daughter. This is by Audrey Blake. Now I found out after I bought this one that this is actually book 2 in a series, and I didn't know. Thank you, honey. I didn't know if that was going to make a big difference for this or not, but come to find out, at least with listening to the first chapter, I believe it does. There is no setup for this book whatsoever. So this book is supposed to be about women in medicine in the 1800s, I believe it is. And this one is focused on the start of the cesarean section. I was really, really curious to read something like this. Women in medicine and history with cesarean sections and pregnancy and the crazy things that women went through in the past, where it's not like modern day surgeries, medicines, anesthetics, all those kinds of things. I think it's really interesting, especially considering that I have been through 3 pregnancies now, and so I just think thought it was going to be really interesting. However, with reading the first chapter of this book, you could definitely tell it was the second book. You're not introduced to our main character at all. You're not introduced to the situation at all, and it just wasn't going to work. So I put this one down. I am going to end up unhauling this one because I think somebody else could really enjoy it, but I just don't read historical fiction enough to care to buy the first book. So I ended up DNFing this one pretty early on. I was only on chapter 2, but I knew that it just wasn't going to be for me if I didn't have any idea what was happening or who anybody was yet. And it was definitely a second book. So unfortunately, just didn't work, but it does make some space on my shelves. And last but not least, book number 10, because we've only had 1 5-star in this video. Book number 10, I ended up listening to Gideon's Corpse on audio. This is also by Preston and Child. This is the follow-up to Gideon's Sword, and I ended up giving this one 3.5 stars as well. It was the same kind of thing. They were looking for a nuclear bomb threat. Somebody they believed was a suicide bomber, a terrorist, and they were trying to figure out what was going on to try and stop it. So this one was very much a political issue, and it was all right, but I didn't care about it. It wasn't for me, wasn't my favorite, and so I ended up giving this 3.5 stars. Now, if I didn't delete this clip, the clip prior to this one, I was originally going to be reading Game of Thrones and The Eye of the World for the ending of this video. Now, Game of Thrones, I read the first couple of chapters in it, and then I tried to switch to the audio, and I could not stand the audio. I love the show Game of Thrones, so I could not listen to the audio. As soon as Tyrion Lannister came into it, and we heard him reading his character instead of Peter Dinklage, I couldn't do it. So I had to stop that one. And then Eye of the World, I just didn't really want to start in on that one. I didn't want to start in on a great big long series, maybe at another point in time, but for right now, I ended up deciding to go with Surgeon's Daughter and Gideon's Corpse instead. So that was just the way that it played out. But either way, in this video, I'm not going to be able to lift up all of these, but we got through 10 books. We had 1 5-star. We had a handful of 4.5 stars, a handful of 4 stars. Some I'm going to be keeping on my shelves, some I'm not going to be keeping on my shelves. But either way, I'm really glad to have gotten through as many of these books as I did. And it was a lot of fun. I had a really great time. Now, if you've read any of these books and you really enjoyed them, please let me know. I would love to hear your thoughts down in the comments. And if you want to see more of these videos, just keep an eye out because I plan to at least continue through the rest of my colors for my slips. So next up, we will be reading my orange books. So If you enjoyed this video, please remember to like, comment, subscribe if you feel so inclined. Thank you so much for being here, hanging out with me for a little bit, and I will see you on my next one. Bye.